Welcome back to Newsroom Live. Our other top story for you tonight, the major diplomatic breakthrough in the Middle East between Israel and Hamas. After intense mediation in Egypt, Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of a ceasefire and a hostage prisoner exchange deal. This deal, unveiled by President Trump, marks the most significant step towards de-escalation in months. And I want to bring in Fox Eye's Sharon Crowley now, who's been monitoring the latest on this deal. Sharon, I guess I want to start with what makes this fragile peace deal in place so different than the times prior?
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, leaders all over the world, Natasha, are thinking that Donald Trump, but President Trump should have gotten the Nobel Peace Prize for this because so many leaders before him for generations have tried and they've never come this close. I just want to talk a little bit about the hostage families, though. 20 are still believed to be alive. You and I have interviewed those on the Nutras. Their son unfortunately died, but they want his remains back. And you gotta feel for them. And we've seen Hostage Square in Israel, and you know, there are just people are on pins and needles because we've never come this close before, and we're just so great to see those hostages come home. And President Trump is heading to the Middle East. First, I want to show you Tarek is operating for us tonight. Show us some pictures there. These are thousands of people, Natasha, fleeing, going back into Gaza because the fighting has stopped, and we hope that holds so that this first phase of the deal, as you mentioned, can go through. I said President Trump talked about this today. Let's hear. We heard from him about 6 o'clock this evening Eastern time. He is headed to the Middle East. He should be there by Sunday. Let's hear what he had to say about what's happening a short time ago.
It's a great deal for Israel, but it's a great deal for everybody, for Arabs, for Muslims, for everybody, for the world. And as you know, on Monday the hostages come back. They're getting them now. I mean, they're getting them now. They're in some pretty rough places under earth. They're in some pretty rough places where only a few people know where they are in some cases. So they're getting them, and they're also getting the bodies, approximately 28 bodies. And some of those bodies are being unearthed right now as we speak. I mean, they're working on it right now as we speak. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy.
It is absolutely heartbreaking. I know so many families have just been waiting for that closure and that peace in the last 2 years that this ordeal has unfolded.
Yeah, and I remember on the year anniversary, Central Park, there was this big vigil. We've been to so many vigils and so many prayers all over the world for this finally to happen. And, you know, there was a little pushback from Hamas almost saying that they wouldn't be able to find some of the remains because of the bombing that's been going on by Israel into Gaza over the last 2 years. So, you know, I guess I said fingers crossed, that's not a good expression, but, you know, we are all just hoping, not just here, but all over the world that this happens. And so many people in New York are of the Jewish faith and have been following this and want to see the outcome we all want to see, which is obviously peace in the Middle East. But it does feel fragile. There are so many people, Natasha, that are guarded. You know, will this really happen this time? You know what I'm saying?
With such a history of fighting between the two in the Middle East, you really want to hope that it's such a fragile peace deal in place. Some of the parameters around this deal, the ceasefire is now in effect. Israeli forces have begun withdrawing from designated areas in Gaza. All remaining hostages, living and dead, are to be released 72 hours after the deal was.
So maybe Monday or Tuesday our time, we'll see that. And then, of course, it's phase 2. And we already have some U.S. troops are over in the Middle East to try to execute this process and make it happen. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens and if the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, holds up his end, if Hamas holds up their end. And that's why the world is waiting, and President Trump going over there because he wants to see firsthand this happen. So I really think we're watching history. We'll be watching it over the next couple of days, and I think that's what the world is waiting to see what happens. But potentially 20 living hostages have been held in tunnels in Gaza for 2 years. And the other thing I wanted to mention is the refugees that we saw by the thousands, you can see them there in the video going back into Gaza, are wondering how it will be governed. And I think those are terms that are still being talked.
And if Hamas is going to be disarmed as well. And if they're going to govern the area. There's so many ifs that still remain in this deal. I do want to mention that in exchange, Israel will release 2,000 Palestinian prisoners too for those hostages.
And that's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of Israelis, because a lot of these people that are being released are wanted for murder. You know, they're terrorists themselves, so it's hard to say what the future holds.
It's all part of the negotiations. Well, Sharon Crowley, thank you very much. I appreciate you talking to us about this piece.